everybody. Welcome to the WDW Fan Zone Show. We took last week off, but we're back this week with another episode. And just a word of advice: if you think Disney does nothing wrong or everything's perfect when you go to the parks, this may not be the show for you. Now, we don't mean to diss Disney. We love Disney, but there are some things that make it a little less palatable for us sometimes. And we're seeing that happen now, and we're going to get into it in just a few minutes. But first, the most important part of the show right now is introducing everybody. We got Kurt, Jess, Darlene, and I'm Stuart. And Jess is going to give us the latest Walt Disney World news right now.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be back. We missed you so much. All right. Well, unless you've been living under a rock for the last week, welcome back. We would love to announce that Tiana's Bayou Adventure, formerly known as Splash Mountain, will officially open on June 28th. Naturally, Disney loves to have preview dates for their new attractions. So the cast member previews are first, and that will be June 3rd through 7th and June 23rd through 26th. There are so many rules that need to be followed before cast members can do their preview. So make sure you check those if you are a cast member. And I'm sure you know what they are already. Why am I telling you this? But anyway, DVC previews are June 12th from 1 to 4 p.m. and June 19th from 9 to 12 p.m. 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's like the morning to noon. All right, if you have to be staying at a DVC hotel at the time and have a Magic Kingdom reservation in order to do this preview. The annual pass preview is June 13th through 20th, and during these previews there will be a 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. virtual queue. All park reservations are full for those days if you are an annual pass holder. So there is no way to get a park reservation for Magic Kingdom right now. However, you could get another park reservation if they're still available for a different park. Enter that park before 1 p.m. and get the virtual queue for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So, most of you probably knew this already, but if you happen to have a Magic Kingdom or any other park reservation on those days and you didn't know, you are still eligible to get those virtual queues on those days. So just, kind of beware. It might be crazy, but it might be worth it. At this time, when the ride actually opens on June 28th. The virtual queue will be available, as well as kind of a surprise here, Genie Plus, not the individual Lightning Lane. So that's kind of swirling around different thoughts on this, like how long will virtual queue last? So just at this time, assume virtual queue will be there for a while. And then you'll need to get your Genie Plus. So that might mean, I'm sorry to give a little tips here, but that might mean two people getting, at 7 a.m., the Genie Plus and the virtual queue at the same time. If you don't get the virtual queue, you might not get Genie Plus unless you do it at the same time on another phone. So, there's a lot of things here that you might have to try, but yeah, we'll get on the ride eventually, right? All right, so tickets are the changing subject now. Tickets are on sale for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party at Magic Kingdom in Disney World. It will run from August 9th through October 31st on select nights. The prices have gone up, ranging from $119 to about $199 plus tax. And on the weekdays, they tend to be a little bit more on Friday. A little bit less on Fridays, and closer to Halloween, the prices do go up. All right. Moving on, the Festival of Fantasy Parade at Magic Kingdom will now have two showtimes. Starting on May 26th, one at noon and one at 3 p.m. And this is because, during the summer, the parks tend to get a little bit crowded, so now having two showtimes will be a lot more helpful. And Happily Ever After has changed its time from 9 p.m. Now it's 9:20 p.m. because it is getting darker later. And finally, for the news, Test Track is closing on June 17th for a lengthy refurbishment. The permit says until February 2025, but who knows how long that could actually take. When the ride actually opened in 97, it was supposed to open in 96. So, like, you never know. Don't forget to check park hours before planning your trip and check them again once you arrive to see if they've changed because they always do. The Walt Disney World area is expecting high 80s and low 90s this week, and always expect an afternoon or evening thunderstorm as we are in our summer pattern. That is all I have for today. A lot of fun stuff, but stay tuned for the news for next week and see you real soon.
All right. Thank you, Jess. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you so much. You all too.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So Friday night, I had the pleasure of seeing the Spinners perform at Walt Disney World in Epcot at the Garden Rocks Festival. They put on a great show. A great show.
Did they spin?
They did.
They used to spin a lot.
Yeah, they did. They,
Out of
you
the
know,
bands.
it's they still. I know it's not any of the original members, but I'll tell you, they've got it. They still got it.
That's great.
Yeah. But they haven't come out with a summer festival, a summer concert series for the Food and Wine Festival yet. I'm anticipating it will be just as good as it was last year, if not better. Hopefully, it won't be as hot this summer as it was last summer. So I know that.
You know the heat index was 107 yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's one day. That's not 2 months in a row. So let's hope it's not as bad. Our rainy season hasn't started yet. We're getting there though. We should be starting. That should start soon here. So one performer I'd love to see. Well, I'm not going to. There were a few performers I'd love to see, but one who I know is still performing. He's 85 years old, still great. Is Gary U.S. Bonds. I don't know if he's ever performed there. I don't think he has. I'd love to see them bring him in to do a few nights here. I think that's it for that. So let's get into the show. So tonight we're going to talk about, is Genie Plus working for most families or most people at Walt Disney World? Kurt, I'm going to let you give us the short answer first.
No.
Yeah. I mean, yes,
I specifically asked this question.
No, I agree.
The answer is no. So the simple thing is, I asked my wife, is it more beneficial now than it used to be? The answer is no, because we're actually getting either the same or less benefits, but we're paying substantially more for it. So I wish they would have tried that. If they could have tried the fixed fast pass instead of charging like Genie Plus, it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you. Darlene will tell her story, and I'll tell you my story after her. But the disability access pass that they have was supposed to help alleviate some of the congestion on the line. And I know it's early with the new policies, but it seems to be just as bad as it has been. I just don't think. Whatever they're doing, I think it's just intentional to keep the lines the way they are, so people are forced to buy it. And one of our podcast members, who's not here right now at the moment, had mentioned that to us earlier during our pre-show, and I completely agree with it. I believe it's intentional to keep the lines long, so people are forced to buy it. But we'll talk more about that later on. Darlene, you've got a story to tell us.
So friends of ours, Terry Stenson Doherty and her husband were down here.
Oh, just throw them under the bus like that. I don't know if I wanted their names mentioned.
I don't either.
Well, I said I was going to use them as a testimonial.
Okay.
And they were only here. They arrived Friday. They're leaving tomorrow. They purchased the Genie Plus. They purchased it for 2 days. And this was the third time since that they've been using it. And each time they purchased it, they never got the rides they wanted. So this time it was Ratatouille and Frozen. They
Well,
couldn't, they
oh, they
couldn't
couldn't get those are the words they wanted but couldn't get.
couldn't get.
Okay.
Tower of Terror, they could not get. And I can't remember the other one. So for them, the $19 a piece was a waste of money, just throwing cash in the trash.
Yeah.
No, it didn't go in the trash. It went in Disney's pocket. There's a difference.
But not to the people that were here for only a short weekend.
Well, just to
Exactly.
make mention of something here, I was at Epcot on Monday as well last week, and it wasn't just Journey to the Imagination, but Journey to Imagination had a 40-minute wait in the middle of the day, because I am sure it's because people couldn't get lightning lanes
Yeah.
for the better attractions, so they were stuck with Journey to Imagination. Not that you're stuck; it's not as good as the original, but it's still a good attraction.
It is. Yes.
So the standby line was 40 minutes because they had to allow for all the lightning lane people to come in.
Yeah. It's just it's
Same thing with-
definitely not working.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
one of the other things they said was Tower of Terror was down most of the day they were there.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reasons that they couldn't ride it.
Well, that's
Yeah.
not a Genie. That you can't use as a Genie Plus problem then. If they're having problems with the actual attraction,
right.
you have to erase that and say that is not a
But
Genie
they
Plus
couldn't
problem.
get on anything else either. With
No,
it.
but I agree with Kurt.
Everybody else was overflowing onto the other rides.
Well, in Hollywood Studios, you're going to have a major problem because they don't have enough attractions to
They don't have
begin
enough
with.
attractions.
Absolutely. Even in Animal Kingdom, well, today, we went to Animal Kingdom. We didn't go on anything yesterday either, but we went to Animal Kingdom today and thinking we were going to get there at 11:30 and we'd be able to get on like Nave River or something. No, it was a 70-minute wait. Flight of Passage was 115. Kilimanjaro Safaris was like over an hour. Everything was jam packed.
Yeah.
So you couldn't ride one ride.
None of what you're saying surprises me.
Yeah.
Disney is a for-profit company. They're going to do that. It's not run the way the Disney family ran the company anymore. It's not even run the way, what's his name? Eisner ran the company.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know if it's the way Bob Iger would like to run the company. I
No.
think there are other powers that be that are controlling how things are run there right now, and not for the better.
Right. I think what they need is the customer to keep going up to guest relations, which I hate to say it, and complain and demand their money back.
No. I hear what you're saying. I don't bother those poor people. The cast members that are there are
But that's where they have to go to get a refund.
No,
That's
email
not the
them.
problem.
Email
You
the-
just said the customers keep going and their guests. The guests keep going. They're not going to change anything. They need the guests to stop going.
Right.
That's what's
Kurt's
going to
right.
cause change.
There's only one way to
when you're
change things.
paying for so much, when you're paying so much money for this pass and you're not getting on the ride because they're overbooking and they're not
That's our
allowing
point.
you to even book, what are you supposed to do? Just eat that money? So you
Well,
paid.
they're hoping even if it's a small percentage of people that don't go to guest relations or guest services to get their money back or to get accommodations for not being able to have access to certain attractions, it's money in their pocket. It's free money for them.
They already got what, $199 for a ticket a day?
Well, how many
Depending on
people?
the park.
How many people?
Well, if you're counting 2 people times 400, 4 days, $400, 2,
Well,
4, 6, 8, $800.
and plus Genie Plus. How much
And
is the
plus
average
Genie Plus.
price for Genie Plus now? On
Well,
an
the
average
Magic
day?
Kingdom, I
One
believe,
day
is
it was
$28.
$19 a day
And there are some
That's
days where it's
for
29.
Epcot.
per person.
It depends on where you're going.
Right.
Because
per
Epcot
person.
will be
Which is Hollywood
19, but the
Studios.
Magic Kingdom, it's going to be 28. And then if you're doing the park hopper, it's 28.
Okay.
Hollywood Studios is around 23-ish. And then Animal Kingdom is around 17.
Now,
In general, that's what they've been at.
if Disney's listening to us, and I hope someone from there
I'm
is.
sure they are.
Yeah.
One of our 20 listeners? Yep.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I know this the couple, this is the first time they've been there in a few years, and they've used it before, and the same thing happened the last time.
All right. Well, I think there is a solution, and I've mentioned this before. If Disney would give me 10 minutes in front of their executives, I could give them a path to success where they'll make their money and get rid of Genie Plus. And it's simple. If you raise the price of tickets depending on the season, you put it to a price point where they're making the money they would have made on Genie Plus, just get rid of it, and everybody's on a standby line. Everybody's got equal footing and paying the same price. Your problem goes away. You might have a long line here and there with some attractions, but the line will move. You're not going to have like what happened to me this past Monday. I had to get off the line. We were waiting for so long.
So what happened? Explain.
I went to Frozen, and it said 75 minutes. We walk in, 5 minutes later, I'm looking at my phone, it's up to 115 minutes. And I'm watching the Lightning Lane line, and they're letting in 30, 40 people. And the only time the standby line moved were when people got off the line. It wasn't moving because they were getting onto the attraction. They weren't taking anyone from the standby line. That's not the first time it's happened to me there.
That's not
allow
guest members.
Well, but that's what they're told to do.
That's what they're told to do, and that's not right. It should be 10 Lightning Lane, 10 guests. 10 Lightning Lane, 10 guests. I think it would go a lot faster.
I don't know if that's going to work either, because then you're going to have complaints from people who are paying the extra money and not getting onto the attraction at the time they've requested. They might have to wait a little bit longer than advertised, so that might not work either.
You still have to work.
That's why I think they should get rid of Genie Plus altogether, which I know they won't do. And
they're not going to. In time out. Number one, what you're asking them to do is raise the price, which they do every year.
Yeah,
they're just going to raise the price anyways.
Right.
So I know you want them to raise the price and make it an extra 20. They're doing that anyways. So they've already factored that in. There's always going to be that Genie Plus, because I don't know how well you guys remember, but I've been doing this for a few years now. Okay. There was always a 45-minute wait for every attraction. The whole purpose for the Lightning Lane was so that you could come back to it and then go and buy something while you were waiting in a virtual queue. Basically, that's what the Fast Pass was. They gave you time to come back. You wouldn't have to wait as long. It didn't work. It was broken. It was broken because of the way that they had it designed, where you could do it 60 days out.
Well, I'm not saying they should bring Fast Pass back at all.
Then what you want to do is you're going back to they'll call it caveman time. That's all you're asking them to do. Get rid of, during COVID, there were no Fast Pass lines. That's what you're asking them to do.
It worked because the crowds were down.
Yeah, it worked because the crowds were down. Nobody could fly or anything. So
the crowds aren't down anymore. So people could fly. They chose not to.
I disagree with you. The crowds have been down. They're coming back now because schools are letting out and summer vacations are going to start up. But the crowds have been down, but the lines have not. And that's because they're intentionally creating these long lines, so you do feel like you need to purchase Genie Plus to actually, your $150, $200 gets you in the park. You want to go on the attractions, though, it's going to cost you whatever the park is charging that day.
Correct.
So if Disney was going to raise the price for tickets, let's say 10% for the year, for this 6 months, just raise a little bit more and include the Genie Plus price.
They're not going to do it because they
do
that every year.
Sure, I agree with you. They are not going to do it. They will never do that.
We sound like we're just whining. They're not going to do that because they do that every year anyways. People still come. So, and then when they know they can pay more money and they're going to get more money, that's why they won't get rid of Genie Plus.
Right.
So what
But,
you need to do is A,
okay.
don't come, or B, just don't do anything.
All right, Kurt, here's what Disney's missing though with guests. Because I have spoken to several people who have come for the first time in a long time, like Darlene, the people that she's talking about. And there are others. I know people here that have annual passes. I know people who've had family come down. My daughter was just here. They're all saying the same thing. It is not a magical place anymore. They've taken the thrill out of the parks and created this monster of a cash cow for themselves. And at some point, people are going to say, we've had enough. They're not going to get good publicity for people who want to come back. Yes, you'll have families with little children who are watching shows on Disney Plus or the Disney Channel and go, oh, we've got to go to Disney. But once they go there, they're going to see what's going on. They're not going to come back. And Disney doesn't care right now because for every family that doesn't come back,
I was about to say that.
They don't care because for every family that
I
won't
was
come back,
about to
they've
say
got
that.
2 more that will. But that will change in time.
So a friend of mine's daughter relocated down here for work.
Mhm.
She met her cousin and his friends in Epcot. Cost her over $200 to get in, between food and drink and lightning lane. Her day, one day in the park, was $400.
I had this conversation 10 years ago when we went over to Disney. I'm sorry. We went to Universal Studios, and it was a $600 day for us, and we already had 2 tickets, and it was over $600 for one day. So this whole conversation we're having is nothing new. It's been happening for years.
Yep.
The price of a Disney ticket is.
Oh, we lost you, Kurt. You froze.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Am I there?
Yeah. You're here now.
Okay. I don't know what happened because I've been fine. I'm hardwired in. It's been happening for years. As far as Disney doesn't want a one-day person to come in. Disney wants you there for several days. You get the longer you stay, the less
family.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she will not come back. She
Not
said,
at that price.
She said, nope. She goes, I'm done with Disney.
You know what a lot of people are doing now?
And that's sad.
What a lot of people are starting to do now is they're not even flying. They're taking local vacations. One of the best things to do now are taking a cruise because it's like a hotel at sea. So you're with meals included and entertainment, and you're getting good value for the price compared to going to a Disney park or a Universal park. And Disney's not the only one raising prices where it's out of control. Let's be real; it's everywhere. But this is a Disney podcast. We're big Disney fans, and even though it doesn't sound like it,
Yeah.
But there were things that need to be fixed and addressed, and I think Disney's sacrificing the loyal fans for the one-time family or persons that have the money for that one trip, and they're not looking at the big picture. Down the road, they're being penny wise and dollar foolish, which a lot of companies do. But
pretty much what they're doing, she just talked about it. Her friend's not coming back.
Right.
So they're outpricing people. So what they want to do is they're still got money coming in. However, they're outpricing people that say I'll never come back, which gives you less people in there. So you're going to have a better day at the park if you did come in.
And that's what they want.
Thought process, which is, to me, a backwards way of thinking. But I also didn't take any business classes. Yeah.
That's what they want to do. And it's short-sighted. If you look, the VIP tours that go on in the parks now, every time I go to the park, I see a few of them. They're everywhere. It used to be occasionally you'd see one. Now they're everywhere. People are paying the premium prices to get that experience because just walking through the gate doesn't give it to you anymore. And Disney knows this. But at some point, you're going to price out so many people, what's left? Darlene, you moved down here. I moved down here. Why did we move down here? To be not just near our friends that are Disney fans, but to be near Disney.
to be near Disney and go and be able to like walk around, ride rides, enjoy the festivals, and you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
it's not as much fun as it used to
No,
be.
it's not.
It
And
got it was fine when I first moved down here in 2019. Ever since COVID, it's been a nightmare.
mhm. I think Disney needs to change its thinking, and I know they're not going to look at the big picture. Where do they want the company to be? And this goes beyond the parks. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they're getting to the point now where Disney Plus is going to be profitable. They expect that to happen before the end of the year. That's a good sign for them. And we hope that does happen and it continues going forward. But what about their other properties? ESPN is doing very well. But then you take, some of their cable network channels are not. Nobody watches the Disney Channel anymore because if you get Disney Plus, you don't need it.
The movies aren't doing well.
Right. The movies are
Where are they
horrible.
making their money? They're making their money at the parks. Why are
Yep.
they going to keep charging exorbitant amounts? Because they're making the money at the parks.
Right.
Where
But
they're
at
making the
some
money,
point-
it's keeping the company alive.
Right. Right now it is. But at some point, that is I don't want to say it's going to change, but at some point there's going to be, how can I put this? There will be a correction to where they're making their money. And it may not be as profitable from the parks. If they're turning off enough people from coming to visit the parks, at some point it'll slow down. I'm not going to say it's going to stop. It'll never stop. We know that. But it'll slow down. But will it slow down to the point where it's going to hurt them? It might, because if you look at the resorts are not selling out anywhere near as much as when it's filling up to capacity as much as they used to. There's many different options now. Vacation homes, cheaper hotels, off property. People are saving money doing things different ways. That is going to hurt them, if not in the short term, in the long term, if they don't change their way of thinking.
I hate to say this, Stuart, but I think we had this exact same conversation in a podcast 5 years ago.
Probably did.
And we keep saying it's going to happen, but nothing's happened yet.
Yeah, you're right. And they're not going to change their philosophy for a while. I think this is what we're stuck with for now and the future.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an effective way for them to. Yeah, I think they're maximizing their profits now, but I think down the road, and I don't know, that could be a year from now, that could be 10 years from now, I think it's going to hurt them in the pocket. And I don't think they're looking at that, because shareholders want to see, how much did you make for me at the end of this quarter? That's all they're interested in. And that's where Disney's philosophy is right now. And I don't think that's good for the company in the long term, but I don't think they care, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think Genie Plus will not improve because they're making too much money off of it, with a lack of regard for the guest experience,
Mhm.
the average guest experience.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just, when a friend of mine was telling me that I work with, that she got the SeaWorld tickets instead of Disney. They have not been to Disney yet. They've never been.
Mhm.
And the price wise, it was better to get the SeaWorld passes, because they can get the free concerts. They could get a ticket with food for a full day included for like $95. It just made sense. SeaWorld, Universal even had Florida resident discount passes that they were able to do.
Oh, I don't know if you can hear him. My dog is here snoring in the background.
No,
Can't hear him.
but
Snore away, Bernie.
so people are budgeting what they can do.
Yeah, they are. People
Okay.
they're taking different types of vacations
Hmm.
rather than
That is
coming.
the different type of vacation.
Yeah.
What is the one park that's over in Orlando that's been hurting substantially? And that's SeaWorld.
Oh yeah.
That's why they have to offer a better deal. They
Yeah.
Well,
have to offer a deal.
yeah, plus they have, isn't that SeaWorld and Busch Gardens and all
Busch
that all
Gardens,
tied
same thing.
together, she said.
Mhm.
So they can go to, they've gone to Busch Gardens as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Same thing.
the first year we moved down here, we couldn't get an annual pass for Disney because of the
Yeah.
world events that were going on at the time. So we wound up getting a SeaWorld pass for the first year. And we didn't use it that much. We went, I'd say, a handful of times, and we enjoyed ourselves there. But it wasn't Disney, so we didn't renew it. And I don't regret not renewing it. It's definitely not the kind of vacation you would get or trip you're going to have going to SeaWorld that you would get at Disney. It's very different. That doesn't mean it's bad, it's good. It's just different. But my expectations for Disney now are much lower than they were 5,
Right.
even 10 years ago,
Yeah.
because they've changed the parks to do that to me. I don't go there expecting a magical trip every time. Now I go there because I live here. If I go there and I walk around for 2 hours and I don't get on any attractions, I'm not upset. I'm okay with it because I can go back another time. When I do get upset is when a friend or family member comes down here for just a few days or a week and they are not getting Genie Plus because they either, can't afford it, don't want to get it. I don't want to get Genie Plus for the same reasons. And then you don't get on that many you in the park for a number of hours, and you get on 2, 3, maybe 4 attractions, and it's like, wow, I'm glad I have an annual pass and I live here, because if I had to spend all that money on a ticket for the day and wind up not seeing, most of or not getting on most of the attractions or even half the attractions, I'd be upset.
And
Mhm.
Steve, that's where Disney wants you to do, is they want you to get that annual pass if you're a Florida resident, because they price it out where it's affordable if you're going to go 4 or 5
Right.
days
Yep.
for you during the week, which is smart on their part, because then you can go back several times during the
Mhm.
year.
Yep.
To be that price for what you're paying, it would be better than going um, SeaWorld. SeaWorld only has really one park, and then that water park, I don't know if it's included or not. But with SeaWorld only being one park, there's not a bigger variety of what you can see. By the way, we missed in the news that the new drone show, Disney Dreams That Soar, is coming to Disney Springs on May 24th.
Nice.
And that's going to be free.
Yeah, there you go. It's I don't think Disney needs to change anything with their annual passes and what they're doing with that and their annual pass holders. I think where the issue comes in are guests coming from out of town that want to spend a week here or even a few days. And the priority isn't on the guest anymore. It's on how much money can you make off that person for
It's
the
on the
few days they're
profit.
here. Yeah, it's all about profit. And you know what? To an extent, I'm not going to disagree with Disney trying to make as much money as they can. But if you put out a product that has a exemplary guest experience, that will make you even more money. Why not do that? They're not
Well, when
doing
it
it.
was $125 for a 1-day ticket, and they send out the thing saying, is the price of the admission still worth it for your experience that you get at a park? The answer they said was resoundingly yes. But when you're charging someone $200, but there's nothing that's improved on that anymore,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
on top of the $200, you might have to pay another $28 possibly, we're
Look, let
not
me say something
getting the
about these
benefit of
survey
that.
companies and these marketing techniques that they use. They're all geared towards giving the company the answers they want. So when they
Right.
do raise prices, when they do make changes that are more profitable for them, they can turn around and say, well, you told us you wanted this. This is what you wanted. We're giving you exactly what you wanted. They're 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 misleading questions to get the answers they want you to give them, so they can say, you told us so.
Well, this is after you're done with if you go on vacation afterwards, you always get a tell us how your trip was.
Mm-hmm.
And if you still rate it well, then they're like, look, it's great. But if you're not rating things as well, you need to not rate them well so that they realize, look, I really need to make a change here. And that's part of the issue right now is people are still saying, oh, I had a great time. There's people that took the new Disney cruise. What's the newest ship that came out?
Wish.
The Wish. And they've never been on a cruise before. And they loved being on the Disney Wish. But anyone that's cruised before, from what I understand, is they say it's missing something. It's not quite as good as the other 4 ships.
Right.
I don't know what it is because I haven't ridden on it.
Yeah, I haven't been on there, but from what people have told me, darling, you've been on there. Correct me if I'm wrong. There are certain decks where you can't go all the way around the deck. You have to.
There isn't a deck you can go all the way around.
Yeah, and that's a problem. Most ships.
So little things like that. So there's little things that are there's little things that aren't included as well as much as it used to be. Maybe there's food that wasn't available the way it used to be. Things like that. There's little things. But if you've never known that it was available before, you didn't know you're missing it.
Right.
So, I mean, people were like, why are you so upset when for a while there with the it was Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. I think they got rid of like the cookie and the hot chocolate, and people flipped out. And they're like, come on, it's just a glass of hot chocolate and a cookie. But their response was, yes, but what's next? Because they raised the price and they're giving us less. So it's the same thing. We're all having the same talk over and over and over again. We're paying more, but we're getting less. But we're going back. So was Disney going to do anything about it? No, because we're either still going back or there's someone else coming to replace us.
Yep, absolutely. Something else we haven't mentioned here, and it's something Disney is doing very effectively for themselves. They're keeping track of you. If you have the My Disney Experience app on your phone, whether you're using it extensively or not, they're keeping track of your every move in the parks.
As long as you click OK.
They know what you're doing. They know how much you're spending, and they're using that information to make more profit for the company.
Well, they're tracking your movements just like they're tracking everyone else's. So they can tell this is a busier area of the park. This is a quieter area. And that's why the app will pop up and say, hey, it's quieter over here. You might want to go and ride this attraction. Mm-hmm. And then everyone moves that way.
One of the things that has changed for me since moving down here is I enjoy going to the parks to just walk around and go on 1 or 2 attractions, maybe grab a bite and go home. But the one thing I don't like about going to the parks anymore that I used to love was the freedom of not knowing where I'm going to eat, not knowing what I'm going to do from 1 minute to the next. It's just if I had to plan a trip at Walt Disney World, I think I'd blow my brains up because there's so much attention to detail that you have to put in. And there's always been a lot of attention to detail and a lot of planning. But now it's gotten to the point right now where to have an effective vacation, you've basically got to turn your life over to Disney while you're in the parks because you have to plan out every second of your day. And things don't always go as planned, as we all know. From Genie Plus, I have to be at Genie, this attraction at this time. And I've got a dining reservation, so I've got to be there at that time. What do I do in the middle? Well, we're going to plan this, but now the line is too long. The attraction's broken down.
That's what they were doing.
Yeah.
That's what they were doing, trying to fit everything around everything. And some of them had to split up to go and do something else and go and do something else and then meet up again and eat again. And it was a lot.
See, you have to eliminate something. For us, it was the sit-down restaurant. We didn't want to pay those kind of fees. Any table service restaurant, we eliminated table service restaurants because that took away a lot of the freedom. But at the same time, through just looking at something on Instagram that's Disney related with food, there's so many different food people or people trying to become, Disney influencers that I can literally tell you there's about 6 different places in each park where we like to go and eat this, or this. So depending on where we are when we're hungry and everything else, now we know, oh, hey, well, why don't we hop over here and eat this? When I come over here, oh, we can eat this. Disney Springs, there's so many places we'd love to get Disney Springs, but we know we'll only eat there maybe twice. So do we go back to Chef Art Smith Homecoming like we have the last couple of years? No. Why? Because we want to go back to eat at these other restaurants or try something new that might have just opened or just something different. So you have the flexibility. There's so many choices. You just have to not, I guess I'm not saying don't make a table service restaurant, but you're causing a headache if you are making table service.
I think you have to make
extra
at this day and age, you have to make a choice. Do you want to use Genie Plus, or do you want to make table reservations? You might be able to do both effectively, but depending on when you go to the parks, like if you're going in July and August, I pick one. Don't do both.
Well, to mid-August. By the time you hit right around August 15th, everything tanks.
Yep.
So the tickets go very cheap right around August 15th. It also is when you're walking on the sun at about 150 degrees with that heat index.
It's gotten to the point now where with the heat the way it is in the parks, I probably for the next few months will go only at night, not during the day. Unless we have the occasional day where it's only going to be in the mid 80s rather than mid 90s, then I might go to the park during the day. Animal Kingdom, because it closes at 6 p.m. now, I'm forced to go during the day.
Right. And we've been watching that. I don't see those times changing anytime soon. I went as far out as I could with the dates, and it still said 6 o'clock closing.
Now, Kurt, tell me if you think I'm wrong here, and I know you will tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Disney raises prices as they normally would each year. Then on top of that, they say, you know what, we're going to get rid of Genie Plus, and we're going to put I'm just going to give the numbers. Seasons 1 is going to cost you $15 more. Season 2, $20. Season 3, $25. Season 4, $30. Up to $45 extra on top of your ticket. But everybody's got to pay it if you want to go in the parks. That gives you access to every ride. However, if you're staying at a Disney World resort, you can get 2, we'll call it front of the line passes, where you could walk right, you get a time to come back, you can go right in. If you're an annual pass holder per day, maximum 2 per day. If you're an annual pass holder, you can get 1 per trip, but you have to be in the park for that. And if it's not available, you're an annual pass holder, too bad, too luck. You're out of luck. Tell me why that won't work.
Because they don't get their money then. They're doing that now with the park tickets as it is. Those 4-day passes that you can buy, there's a stipend on top of that already. I mean, when they say as low as $89 or $55 a day, that's those times in August when it's dead. It's not right now. Right now, your $99 a day is like $129 a day. If you're looking for an individual day pass, it's going to be more than if you're buying a 5-day pass. So either way, for me to buy a 5-day pass, the first thing they were asking me is, when are you coming down? Because my 5-day pass that's in June is going to be probably $29 a day more than that 5-day pass for August for the same roughly time that you're going to be traveling. That's just the way they do it now. Do I like it? No. Do I like that if I go to a restaurant and I'm ordering on an app? This is a thing now. Depending on when you're ordering on the app, it might be at 11 o'clock in the morning, it costs $5. At 12:30, it's costing $7. That's just a regular carry-out restaurant. Just you're not going now. And I'm like, I don't understand why they're doing that. It's because supply and demand during the time of the day.
So
we were at Centui Canteen today, and all we wanted was two fountain drinks, right? So I ordered it through the mobile app for pickup. It was going to take 45 minutes to get those 2 sodas.
Yeah, that's insane.
And so I walked up, and they're like, "Well, just go over to the window and ask." So I did, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, no problem. It's just soda." And he told the people behind, here, just give her soda and her drink and we'll go. Because I got their specialty pineapple, melon, lime Gatorade or lemonade Gatorade,
Okay.
Powerade or something.
Whatever, you got their
Right.
drink.
It doesn't matter.
It was very good. But so I got it right away. So then our friends ordered back to back. One set got their food, the other did not.
I've been there plenty of times with the mobile ordering where it's worked excellently. And I've been there other times where I'll order after friends that we're with and we'll get our food before them. And it could be 20 minutes to a half hour before them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's what you order. Sometimes it's just luck of the draw. But
Yeah.
most of the time it does work very well.
And they
but
said
Kurt,
that they were backed up because it was lunchtime.
getting back to what you
Yeah.
said a moment ago, Kurt, I don't disagree with anything you said. But I think if Disney, I think if they could come out with a successful movie would help with the parks. I think more
Right.
people would go. But I think if they took a different approach to how they're making money in the parks with Genie Plus and put the guest experience, by guest experience, I mean the people that are coming there on a vacation, either staying at the resorts or doing multiple days in the parks, and finding a way to make them happier while they're in the parks and on property, rather than make profit the first priority, although it should be up there, don't get me wrong. I think they could find a balance. What that balance is that will work for them, I'm not sure they even know.
So when they went through, they let however many people go. They meant that, remember, hey, we got to cut the fat. We got too much. We got to take care of it. They can have some of my fat. I don't care. But they were cutting the fat with employees. Part of that was middle management. Part of that was also in training. So part of the reason we're not having as good of an experience anymore is because it used to be, if I walked into a shop and I saw 3 people standing together, the floor manager would walk in, or the floor lead walk in and say, split up now. The next time I see you 2 together, you're gone or you're getting written up.
Where you
Don't
see them on
have
their
that
cell phone
anymore.
talking to each other.
Now the lead is standing there with them and they're all on their phones looking at stuff, and they're all, hey, they might be looking at when their break is going to be, because that's all done electronically on their phone now. But the problem with that is the guest service isn't where it was.
You're right, but it also
They're
goes
not
to
being trained correct anymore.
it also goes to the educational system that we have in this country. If you ask a cast member who's a young cast member, and I hate to say it, but I will almost bet you'll find one on every trip, at least one, if not several. Ask them to make change without looking at the computer, telling them how to make change. They have no idea what a quarter is, a nickel dime is, a nickel, a penny. No clue.
Yeah.
My students don't know how to sign their name in cursive.
Yeah, that's another problem.
They weren't taught it.
Yeah.
Because cursive is a dying language,
Yeah.
or dying writing.
Well, I can give you
but they
cursive.
can't
I
sign
can
their
curse
name.
all day long.
Yeah.
I can teach you how to write cursive.
Well, go teach my students then. So because they cannot sign their name in cursive because they were never taught cursive in school.
So how do you sign a check?
They print.
Yeah, you can print. It's still legal to print your name.
They all print their name, and half the time, again, we're talking, I teach driver's ed, so I'm looking at permit, and they'll sign their first name and maybe have a last initial. And I'll even ask them, hey, you got to have your signature. Well, that is my signature. Well, your signature should be your full name, not just that. Now, they're going to run into issues when they get older. They're only 15 years old, but that's their mental thought process right now.
Right.
Is they're not looking at the future, which is kind of what this whole
And because
about.
and the point I was trying to make was because Disney, it goes twofold. Disney has cut things down, or cut training down to be more profitable, because they were losing a lot of money training people who would work for a week, quit, and whatever. The educational system in this country is not what it was when we were kids. And I just bet you our parents would say the same thing about our generation. But, so it goes hand in hand. You're getting people who they've got to dumb down their training on top of that in order to get the most out of their employees. And they can't get the younger employees to do the same thing that their seasoned employees can do, because they've grown up in different generations, and there's been different expectations for each generation. Look at the millennials. It's millennials think, "Oh, I have to work today. Nah, I'm not. I'm going to call out." Or they'll just leave for lunch and not come back. I've seen
Well,
that happen.
the new thing
Happened
is,
multiple times.
you were expected to be there and be ready to go 15 minutes ahead of time. We were always expected to do that. And unfortunately, somewhere along the line, that became, oh, I need to get ready. I got to go on the clock so I can start getting ready.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I need to go and get what? Okay, let me sign in so I can go and do that. Not, you're going to do it ahead of time. It's changed.
And you know what? We're talking about Disney here, but if you think this is a problem with Disney, think again. Anybody that
I'm
has
talking about
to deal
here.
with, right, anyone who has to deal with customer service anywhere, you're going to get the same issues. People, pardon my French, I'll keep it short. I'll just give the initial F up in customer service all the time. Why? Because the expectations have been lowered all over the place. It's like, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. It's not like you're a customer, that means you're important to us anymore. And you're seeing that everywhere. And you're seeing it at Disney, maybe not to as large an extent as you would elsewhere. Despite what we're saying tonight on the show here, when we're recording this, Disney's still a great place to go. I love
It
it.
is.
But it's not the same as it was a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
or 5 years ago, let's say. It's just not.
I mean, my
Well,
friends walked around Gorilla Falls and the Maharaj Jungle Track today.
yeah. And think of this also: the generations that are coming up, they're all computer savvy. They're all, it's cell phones. Everything is online. Everything is with tech. But to think and imagine things, it's not there the way it is for us, because we grew up without computers.
Right. Now, but the sad thing is I don't know how many people almost walked into people today, and one woman almost got knocked over, a little elderly lady, because there was a guy walking like this, looking at the app, trying to figure out where he was going and what line to go in, and he almost bowled her over.
Yeah. Well, what happened to me this past Monday when I was in Epcot? I'm walking straight. I'm walking on the right side. People on the left side are walking the opposite direction. Well, a guy comes from the other side to walk across. But what does he do? He sees me coming. He knows he's not going to have enough time to get past me. So I thought, okay, he's going to just try to rush by. Nope. He stops right in front of me.
Huh.
And look, that was the guy. He just stopped. Why did he stop right in front of me? Because he was trying to get the attention of somebody coming the other way, I guess, who you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
So
like
he's blocking you.
right.
Yes.
So
I thought you were going to say he was
Huh.
walking on the wrong side of the wrong side of the walkway, like he's from either Australia or England or something.
Yeah, I see it all the time, and I hate to say it, but young parents with strollers, they want to get from one attraction to the next as fast as they can, and they'll mow you down. But that's another story for another day. Yes, we sound like a broken record here with Genie Plus. Is there anything that we think could fix it? I think we all probably have a few ideas. Will Disney ever listen to them? No, they won't. They're making too much money off of it. I think what they need to do is stop using AI to write their scripts for their movies or to assist in the scripts for the movies. Find talented people with good imaginations who can come up with new, fresh stories. Even if they reimagine old stories. Where's the Howard Ashmans today? Where are they? I don't believe
It's all
he was
about the
one in a
profit.
million. He was one in a million.
I can hire two people to run the AI program versus a dozen writers. Oh, this will work.
But it's not. It's not working.
It's not.
They don't want to go to the expense that movies cost now to actually make a good quality movie. They're trying to cut back there. And it's not, like I said, it's not just Disney, it's everywhere. But you expect more from Disney because we've gotten more from Disney forever, it seems. And I mentioned Howard Ashman, who was yes, he was a 1 in a million talent, but there are other talented people out there. Find the next Howard Ashman. I dare you, Disney, go ahead. There's got to be somebody out there who can make a good movie for that. And you know what? A good movie is going to bring them a new attraction in the park, and it's going to bring more guests into the park. It goes hand in hand.
Darlene, I think when we get off this, you need to take Stuart a drink. I know it's a little
I'm
dry
good.
for you, but
I'm good.
Right?
You know why I picked this topic for this week? Because I knew John wouldn't be here. John is the adult in the room.
Well, he's very optimistic, and
Yeah.
today again, all these problems you guys have said about Genie Plus, I complain about Genie Plus, and then I go down and I use Genie Plus the way it's supposed to be used, and it usually helps our park experience. So I really can't see your viewpoint of it, other than saying, yeah, we're out a lot of money because we're just spending on Genie Plus. So I haven't had the issue that you guys are having yet. I'll see what happens in a few weeks if when we're down there, if we use it or not. We don't know if we're going to use it on all our parks. There's other ways to get around it to not use it. You just have to make the adjustment for it. And some of the secrets I don't want to give out until after the trip, because if everyone's doing it, then it's not going to work.
Right. Now, for every Kurt that it's worked for, I know at least 100 people it has not worked for.
Yeah, me too.
I understand that. I completely understand that. And the way I use it, and my sister will tell me she'll go there with her family, and when they would go into it, it doesn't work the same. And she doesn't know why it's different the way we're doing it. It's just a timing thing. That's all I'll say.
Here's what I think about. There's a family on a standby line with the grandparents, the parents, and young children under the age of 10. And they're on that line because they can't afford to get Genie Plus. And they're on that attraction line, and they're watching person after person go through the lightning lane who's paid extra while they're standing there. The person on the lightning lane is smiling away because they're getting on the attraction. The person on the standby line is sweating and aggravated because they're not moving. Why is that fair?
Then your solution will never work because they can't afford it. You just answered your question.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
You just answered your question. You have to lower your expectations as to what you expect.
We're going to agree you're right, but let's give the present time.
Oh my God, Darlene, write this date down.
Because
Stuart agreed with me. Write this date.
Because what I just described now is exactly what's happening.
Oh, I know it.
So you're taking a multi-generation family and you're telling them Disney's not the place for you anymore.
Depending on the time of the year, it might not be.
Right. But that might be the only time of the year they can go. You have kids in school, I'm not going to tell anybody take your kids out of school, even though we did.
Especially if they're taking driver's ed, please don't take your kids out of school. They're required to have X number of hours of training, and then they're going to make all that time up. It's in the classroom.
All right. Anyway, we're approaching an hour here on the show. Any last thoughts or words you guys want to mention?
I just want them to realize what they've done, so more
they know what they've done,
so that more people can enjoy the rides, the characters, the food, the park the way Walt wanted them to.
I hate to say it, Darlene. I think they know what they're doing, and I think this is their strategy. And unless something happens to change their strategy, it's not going to change anytime soon. And that's unfortunate.
It is.
Any last words?
Well, since we're getting nowhere with this, I just want to say thank you to Kirsten for my lovely new photo that I got back here that came from her mother's estate, and she thought of me when she saw it. So, on a positive note, thanks, Donald. And thank you, Kirsten.
Yeah, look, most of our shows are Disney positive. This week was not. Next week probably will be. I think we've said everything we need to say tonight. So on that note, I want everybody to have a very well. We'll be here before Memorial Day, but for those of you who don't make it until after Memorial Day to hear the next show, have a great Memorial Day weekend, vacation, whatever you're doing. Be safe. Be yourself.
My schedule's packed, so I won't see you before Memorial Day. It'll be a couple weeks, but good night, everybody.
Have a magical night. Stay safe. And remember, Stuart said and Jess said, it's the rainy season. So pack a poncho and your sunscreen.